Sometimes I have registration lists and I'm missing 20 or 30 people, and then today you're all here. So that's great to see you. Welcome. Welcome back to those who have been here for previous sessions, and a warm welcome to our newbies. Who's here today for the first time? Wonderful. Great to have you. Thank you. So this is our monthly seniors, as you know, monthly senior speakers session. I'm a bit discombobulated today. I've got a million things in my mind, and I'm trying to keep one thing up and everything straight. So please bear with me if I'm a little bit kind of not all together. But I promise you, that it'll all come together in the end. So my name is Marion Goard. I'm a real estate broker here in Burlington, and I work primarily with older adults. I'm a real estate broker, also something that's called a Lifestyle 55 Master, and a seniors real estate specialist. And it's through my experiences with my clients that I've realized that something like this that there was a gap in the community in terms of services, educational services. So I thought, okay, let's give it a shot. And here we are. We're seeing full room every month that we've been here. So clearly, there is a need, and I'm happy to be bringing that to you. Just wanted, before we start, to extend a warm welcome and also extensive thanks to our strong team of educational partners. Without them, this series would be pretty difficult to facilitate and provide for you. And they are all people who are representing either their own businesses or companies that they work for. And they are all specializing in working with older adults later in life. So they all have, and all have your best interests in mind and at heart, and they are well equipped to meet your needs as those arise. I encourage you to speak with them at the end or an opportunity. All their contact information is on the handouts. You never know when you're going to need somebody, and in an era where we've got an abundance of information and access to information is so great, but you don't know who's on the other end of that if you make a phone call or somebody on another website. But I can assure you that any of the people here in this room who are service providers would have your best interests in mind and are well equipped to help you. So just by way of introductions, I've got a lot on my plate today, so I'm changing things up a little bit. We're going to let them introduce themselves. Good afternoon. Is it working? Yeah. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeanette Bogg, and I'm with Fluid Senior Transitions. Basically, I'm an elder care planner, helping people in crisis, transitions, and in aging in place or elder care planning.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I like that. My name is Kelly Stern. I'm the owner of Compassionate Care Collaborators. We are a collection of end-of-life doulas, so end-of-life guides or coaches. We support people through any issues surrounding the end of life. So I have some brochures that list our services up here if you're interested. So thank you.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth. I'm with the Burlington Neighborhood Health Team with Bayshore. Our program delivers nurse-led home care, which means we have PSWs and caregivers to help you with anything and everything at home. But you also get close support from and access to a registered nurse. I'm Sarah Rotz. I work for Chartwell Retirement Living in Oakville. We specialize in helping seniors in their later years of their life in the vibrant communities that we have across the GTA. And I'd be happy to assist you with anything that you need.
Hi, I'm Sarah Sunix. I'm with Smith's Funeral Home. It's nice to see everyone that I recognize here. I am the funeral director. Yay for me. But I do specialize in pre-planning, so getting things done ahead. And I also do the aftercare program, which I help apply for Canada pension benefits, executor checklists, and just make sure your executor has everything that they need to do their job. So that's what I do here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kim Rutledge, and I'm the sales consultant for Vistamere Retirement Residence in South Oakville. And we are an independent retirement residence in a quiet residential area. And I have some brochures here today if you're interested in learning more about us. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Meredith Joachim. I am a hearing instrument specialist at Hearing Well Matters. We have an independent clinic just over on Maple Avenue. So if you have any questions or concerns about your ears or hearing, I would be happy to talk to you about it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jerry Sia. I am the owner of Quality Care Home Care. We've been here for 10 years in Burlington, and we provide both personal support worker and nursing care. But at the same time, we want to make sure that everyone can access to our services. So we start at anywhere between 15 minutes and onwards. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, folks. And also, not here today, we've got a few people that weren't able to make it. Paul Cuttajar, he's the owner of Senior Care Access and Lifestyle 55 Network. SeniorCareAccess.com, it's an on-site website, and it has an extensive resource of senior housing options right across Canada. And they also provide training for folks like me who are looking to extend their knowledge base on working with older adults. Just gonna take, we'll just stop in 1 minute. Also not here is Irene Zioba. She's with 360 Transitions. She helps people with their downsizing process, packing up, moving to other places, and always with that, what do I do with my stuff conversation. She's the person to talk to. And then lastly, not here today is Neela White. She's with Raymond James, a wealth advisor, also incredible woman with experience in gerontology and older adults and anything. She's a wealth of information, but someone who would welcome an opportunity to speak with you. So once again, I just want to thank all of our educational partners. So if you haven't had a chance to visit with them yet, please do. They're all here for you. We'll just take one little break. Folks need to get settled, and they're welcome to. I don't want to disrupt everybody. We're good? Okay, just also want to acknowledge my right-wing people, my right arm people, Anita Gabuza. She's at the door. Anita's been here month after month helping us out, making sure that we stay organized, that I get everybody seated and everything runs on time. And also today we have, actually it's my daughter, Carolyn Dilks at the back. She was a substitute for Lisa, for many of you who've been here in the past. I know Lisa, she had a knee replacement a couple of weeks ago. She's feeling well, but not quite ready to be coming out. So fortunately, my daughter was able to help me. She's an incredibly accomplished young woman and also the mother of 2 children who I'm proud to say are my granddaughter, my grandson. And also here today, we have Sarah McKenzie. Sarah, did you want to come up? Sarah is another behind the scenes kind of person. She's the one that helps me out with my marketing, social media, design work, and she's going to be running around today taking some pictures and some video clips so that we can hopefully, with your permission, use that online. In terms of just some housekeeping stuff, as always, we've got lots of information to share today. We're trying to wrap up by 3 o'clock. Your handouts have all the contact information of all our educational partners, so that information is there for you for reference. People are telling me actually that they keep them month to month to month, so that you must have quite a stack of them already, so that's great to hear. So that's being put to good use. You've got some notepads on your chair. Please take, if anything comes to mind that you want to ask, please just jot down your question. We will address all the questions at the end so that we can run around with microphone and make sure that everybody is heard. Please do turn off your phones so that they're not disruptive, and I need to remember to do that myself. There's also an evaluation form on your chairs. On this form, I've listed some topics that we're considering for next year. So it's your opportunity to cast your votes and let us know if we're on the right track. So your feedback is important. These sessions are for you, and we don't want to be giving you information that's particularly useless. So whatever is valuable to you, please just indicate that, and we'll take that into consideration as we set up our sessions for 2025. They will be continuing, same thing, second Wednesday of every month in this room, unless Sarah ends up having us go the first one. Also, just also a note about parking. So that parking is on the honor system, so I'm just asking if you haven't paid, when you're coming in, you should ask you if you paid the $3 at the desk. No one's gonna stop you and chase you down if you don't, but we would really appreciate it, everybody just does their share. Okay, wonderful. So today, to start off today, we've got a little bit of a bonus, so we've got a lot of stuff going on today. We have Jimmy Betty, who's the pharmacist and associate owner at, at Shoppers Drug Mart on Plains Road, and he is joined by Paul Shevitt, who is the store manager. They are going to fill us in on the current services, and including vaccines and flu shots and other services that are geared to seniors at the pharmacy. And he's also very generously provided a $10 voucher to the store for each of you. So thank you very much. That was very kind of you. Welcome.
Thank you, Marion, for having us here. Thank you to the group. Very nice to be here in front of you. I do want to shout out Ida, who's worked tirelessly over the last couple of days to get this all together for us, and also, from what I understand, just getting the group together every one Wednesday month. I won't take up too much of your time. I just wanted to let you know that at Shoppers Drug Mart, we do provide services that are geared towards everybody, but we do focus more on the senior population, simply because seniors do take more medications. So we do have variety types of blister packing. So we'll package medications in a certain way so that you don't have to do the thinking. I know when I take my vitamins, sometimes I think, did I take the same one? Did I take a second one? So in order to prevent that from happening with vital medications, we do package that for you. One of the other things we do is we do minor ailment prescribing. So if you have things like an eye infection, urinary tract infection, hemorrhoids, there's a list of 23 items that pharmacists can prescribe for. You can give us a call, we can talk to you about a prescription, and we can actually have it delivered to your house for free. You don't even have to come into the pharmacy. So that's a service that we provide. Delivery is free on our side. And injections as well. So we've been doing COVID and flu injections that are walk-in. You can book an appointment online. You can book it over the phone, that's not a problem. But we do everything else. We do polio shots, we do hepatitis vaccines, anything else that you may require, we can do in the pharmacy. That way you don't have to make an appointment and see your doctor. I brought Paul with me. He wants to discuss some of the front store offerings that we have as well.
Yes, at Shoppers, we're located at the Plains Road location. Not sure if you guys are familiar with that or not, but we have the services at the post office. We have a beauty boutique offering as well. We have an extensive derm center with well-trained cosmeticians that can help you with any of that. Also, we've got fresh food offerings from different veggies and fruits. We've got fresh meats like steak. We offer chicken legs. All sorts of different offerings we have. We have the best prices on bananas in town. So, yeah. Anyways, that's some of the services we have, and that's it. Oh, and the seniors discount on Thursday. Let's not forget Seniors Day. It's the most important day of the week. And the bananas become cheaper, and so does the milk. We sell a lot of milk that day. But yeah, come check us out if you haven't already. Like I said, be pretty interested in the amount of food offerings that we do have. And again, we have a well-organized team in the pharmacy that can assist you with anything else. And again, anything in the HBA world, we have great cosmeticians that are specialists in that area. So we hope to see you there. Thank you very much.
So I'm filling in for Irene to introduce this lovely lady, Marion Goard, who you all know and you see on a monthly basis, and she was responsible for organizing. So I would like to introduce you to her and tell you a little bit about her. So Marion Goard is a full-service real estate broker, Lifestyle 55 and her master's. She's a senior real estate specialist and certified estate advisor.
Can't hear you, please.
Can you hear me better now? Yes. Excellent. Okay. So she works with seniors and their families through every stage of a later life real estate transaction and a real estate sale. Her healthcare background was integral to being a committed advocate and caregiver for her aging parents, and comes in handy when working with clients who have health concerns. Her senior real estate knowledge also benefited as she helped her parents navigate home care and retirement residence living. Serving on her condo board, Serving on her condo board taught Marion invaluable lessons about condos and condo law. Having significantly renovated several homes, she has a good handle on residential structures and components. Understanding medical aspects, the challenges of aging, and the finer details of real estate helps Marion immeasurably in effectively guiding clients through complex decisions in both real estate and life transitions. She also recognizes that seniors need to be empowered, not rushed. Marion is a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and someone who has been committed to volunteerism from an early age. She has been involved in the community in various capacities, from door-to-door canvassing and serving on school councils, to being president of a charitable organization, and then to founding 100 Women Who Care Burlington, a group that has so far generated $300,000 in donations to area local charities. Recognizing her efforts, Marion received the City of Burlington's Best Community Service Award in 2016 and Karina Gould's Queen's Platinum Jubilee Community Hero Award in 2022. Marion's experience and passion inspired her to launch the Empowered Senior Speaker Series in 2023, offering seniors and their families valuable insights into topics that are important to senior living and retired people. I just want to add, I've known Marion for 10 years, and I have worked with her, and we've worked together for over that time period. She is the most knowledgeable real estate agent I've ever come across with working with seniors. So that's my personal endorsement.
Thank you, Jan. Is this on? Yeah. So unfortunately, Irene was going to be joining in the presentation today, and she's had a family emergency and not able to do her part. And I'm going to do my best not to butcher her portion of the presentation. I'll do my best to cover the topics that she's usually going to address. So, downsizing. The topic is, it doesn't have to be limiting, it's liberating. So how many people here like change? All right. How about, do you associate the word downsizing with a negative event? Yes. Yes? And do you think, how many about moving? Is that one of the most stressful things that you could possibly be doing in your life? And how many people here are looking forward to losing their independence and control over their lives? All right. Well, you know what? You're in the right place, you've got the right crowd, and you've got the right topic here. And my goal is to help you think differently about that before we're done. So as mentioned earlier, I'm what's called a Lifestyle 55 Master. So all that means is I've taken some extra education training, but it's more around getting the sensitivity and understanding the needs of seniors and how vastly different it is from perhaps a younger real estate, someone involved in an earlier real estate transaction. But most importantly, it's not about the real estate, it's about your life transition and understanding what you're going through during that period of time, and that you can't be rushed, that you need to be empowered and you need to be able to make decisions on your own. I use this slide at every one of our senior seminars, and I usually have it at the end, which is a reminder that to plan thoughtfully. Got the slide here at the beginning because it's no different. Your housing needs are no different than when you're looking at the stuff writing your will, when you're looking at advanced care planning, when you're transitioning or speaking with Jeanette around what those plans may be. So when you do those things, it's free. You've got it done, you put it away, you don't have to worry about it again. So my goal today is to get you to start at least thinking about what your future housing is going to look like, whether you stay in your own home that you're currently in, or whether a move is imminent, or will happen in the future. It can take time to evaluate your options and make the appropriate choices. You could be feeling pressured by others, perhaps a spouse or family members, to make a move. You don't have to, it should be your choice. There could be concerned family members, they're seeing things that you're not perhaps acknowledging or recognizing on your own. Later in life moves involves, again, your family, your finances, real estate, a lawyer, financial planner, and other service providers. So it's not something that's to be hurried, but it's important that you start thinking about it. So senior facts. The stats, pretty clear. Everybody would like to stay in their own home for as long as they can. But if you do, that's fine, but what needs to be put in place? As our population is now living longer, probably longer than most of us thought we would, but very few of us are fortunate to live to a ripe old age without having any challenges or health concerns or financial concerns. So that's the reality of the life that we're living today. So we need to be thinking about this. And there's kind of two groups of people. Those that want to stay in their own home for as long as they can, and they fight it all the way through until they're actually kind of either in a crisis or forced to make a move. And then there's a second group of people that say, you know what, I'm gonna move now and I'm gonna make life easier for myself. So who's in that second group that says, I'm ready, I want to make a change, I want to do it for myself to make things better for me. I had a client once that said, the first question was, what goes on, and they were talking about the Williamsburg retirement home, and saying, the first conversation was, we're too young to go to the Williamsburg. And then a week later, they said, we're young enough to go and enjoy it. So it was a completely different perspective, and they went, and they were fairly young, I'm going to say, to be in a retirement home, but they went with the attitude that it's going to free them up and make their lives better. So what's important here is that you know the options and you take the time to consider them. So in terms of downsizing, what is it when we talk about downsizing? But what I can tell you, it certainly doesn't mean you're just going to move it into a closet. It's not about that at all. It's very simply moving from a larger home into something that's smaller and more manageable. Perhaps it's not even smaller, but maybe the more manageable part is the more important piece here, or more appropriate for the needs that you have. Again, it takes time to evaluate, make the appropriate calculations, because there's always finances involved, and to make the right choice. And not to be pressured, once again, by family or spouse or someone, but to, I'm gonna say, slow down and think about it. The same way you would be thinking about your estate plan, the same way you would be thinking about your health care plan. Think about your housing so you don't end up in a crisis. Far too many times I've been working with people, there was on one occasion, a man in the hospital bed with a fractured collarbone, writing an offer for another property that he hadn't even seen. How much sense does that make? But had we been thinking about this, at least we would have known where we were headed. So why downsize? Why move at all? What's the point? So when we're living in a home, whether it's either for a long time or a short time, it can require ongoing maintenance, perhaps unmanageable expenses, and it may not end up fitting your lifestyle. It can become a burden. And when there's a burden, it creates stress, poor health, exhaustion, overwhelm, which are not always good outcomes. And people who have lived to healthy, ripe old age, 83, 93, 103, it's because they stayed active, they stayed engaged, they found ways to be active and found something to support them through their longevity, and it's healthy aging. And also staying active with proper nutrition and exercise. If you're in your own home, on your own, holed up, by yourself, not eating well, not meeting people, not out and about, not staying active, it increases your odds of encompassing again early demise, or you have that's helping sort of your cognition, everything around that. You're not thriving to the best of your ability. Living a sedentary lifestyle, there's risk of disease, falls, hospitalizations. Living alone can change your appetite and also cause nutritional deficits. End up in the hospital. It's not what we want for ourselves. So once again, say it over and over and over. At least start to think about what that future is going to look like for you, and don't avoid the conversations. And now again, like my parents, they were still an older generation. It was something like you didn't talk about stuff. You didn't talk about your wills. You didn't talk about your plans. You didn't talk about this. You didn't talk about that. So it's like, okay, you should know. Yes, it's not the way it should be. And also to be in a position that you're making the choices and not someone making choices for you. So I'm going to ask, what is holding you back? So again, I'm not here to sell you on anything or to encourage you or to push you into a move that you're not ready for or don't want or don't need. But be thinking about what's on the other side. Where would it be leading to if you had a little bit more freedom, perhaps a little bit more cash, a little less responsibility? So, what types of things would that allow you to pursue? So the $1 million question, should I move or should I stay? Or better still, can I live out my life in my current home? So what is the answer? It really depends. No two people are the same. So it really emphasizes the need to have those conversations and to develop a plan, and we'll talk about all of that later. But there's no flat answer here. Your story is different from my story, is different from anybody else's story, and you really have to evaluate it for yourselves. Personal decision based on many factors. Finances. A lot of people are living longer, perhaps outliving what they thought the kind of finances they were going to need over time. Are there health concerns? What are the physical limitations in your current home? Do you have the ability to climb the stairs in your 2-story home with a laundry in the basement? Is the size of the home manageable? Are you spending all your time cleaning? If you're not doing that, if the house is large, you're not cleaning and you're bringing somebody in to clean. What's the cost of doing that? And are your children close by? Or do you want to be close to your children? Or at least someone in a support network? So it doesn't need to be scary. And I'm here to help you again to try and find a way to get through this process and to begin having the conversations. So what I've learned over my life is that fear is often because you have unanswered questions. You don't know where to begin. You don't know what questions to ask. So you just kind of put it aside, live in fear, and it doesn't get any better. It just continues to be fearful. And so when you're feared, you're kind of paralyzed. When you're fearful, you're paralyzed. And also, who can help you? So avoiding having those conversations or avoiding asking those questions can put you into this state of fear, which will not be in your favor. So also, instead of thinking about downsizing, let's start using the word rightsizing. Because downsizing, as you all said, has a negative connotation, whereas rightsizing is much more uplifting and much more positive perspective. So then, how do we do this? When you're filled with questions about where am I going to go, who's going to help me, how am I going to get there, how am I going to pay for it, where is it going to be? The answer is you have to do it all one thing at a time. When you lump it into one big bucket, it's impossible to decipher. It's like anything else. You need a plan. So this slide represents basically the general process, the general overview. So take stock. Take stock and be honest with yourself. Again, what is your health like today? What is the likelihood of your health staying the same as it is? It may be perfectly mobile now, but do you have any type of diseases, or is there something in your family that might rear its ugly head in your life? So instead of being overwhelmed, start looking at all of these things. Also, we'll be looking at what are the options, what are your choices? So when you have no idea what your choices are, you can't even begin to have those conversations. It's important to also use the professionals like the folks here, but other professionals that specialize in working with older adults. So I'm going to tell again a story. My parents, God bless them, they're both gone, so I can talk further about them. But they lived till my dad died at 100 and a half, my mom at 97, and they lived in a condo on their own till they were in their probably early 90s. And when we started talking with them about perhaps making some changes, it was one excuse after the other. And they had already downsized from a house to a condo, so they were there. And we talked about all these different options, but really, they didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to hear it. So all of the excuses that came around was, no, we can't afford it, or we can't do this. And then finally, in the end, when they decided, yes, we need to move from here, we cannot do this anymore, then they called the retirement home that they were on a list for, and the retirement home said, well, that's nice, but it's 2-year wait. And then my mother said, well, I didn't know it was going to be 2 years. Like, we talked about this, Mom. And she said, well, I didn't want to hear it. So that's typical, probably what the kids in the room are saying. And that's, I'm saying, to be realistic and to take stock and to be honest with yourself. I also think that my parents probably thought it was a step in the wrong direction. They had this downsizing, so that was a natural progression of life. You buy a house, you raise your family, you maybe buy something bigger, then they did went to a condo, but the step to the retirement home, I'm not advocating that everybody's next step is a retirement home, but they just felt that that was a step towards their demise. And they didn't want to, they were in that first group where they wanted to stay in their house as long as they could, as opposed to being the type of person that says, moving on will help free me up, help make my life easier. Accepting help from a PSW that would help my mother shower, so that she didn't have to, after her shower, she didn't have to spend the rest of the day in bed recovering from the shower. So it's the same type of thing. When you move on to a situation where you're not have as much stress and burden on you, it will free you up to do other things. And also, just again back to my parents, despite my brother is an accountant and went over their finances from up and down and sideways and said, you can afford it. And they said no, they didn't want to spend the money. But those were all decoys to us to say, we don't want to do this. Until they had to, which became probably the way to. So again, the moral of the story, be honest with yourself and with your family. I also find that widows and widowers, they're in a little bit of a unique situation because they've had their whole life making decisions with their life partner. And now they're on their own. And it's a big decision. This is a major life transition. So who do they turn to? How do they know? Who do they bounce it off of? And they perhaps have adult children who are supportive and alongside them and either encouraging them or not encouraging them. But for whatever reason, I find that these adults don't want to put that burden on their adult children. So having professionals around, someone like me or others that can help, helps that senior, that single senior, the widower senior, have some confidence that someone there is listening to them and helping them make the best decisions they can for themselves. So again, I told you the story of a man who broke his collarbone and was in a hospital bed, and we're making decisions about where he's going to move next. Fortunately, that story had a happy ending, but it could have very easily gone the other way. But I also have a client who's now packed up, lock, stock, and barrel, so got rid of every single thing in her condo, and she's moving up to BC because her son is in BC. Her son and his family are in BC. And she's saying, if something happens to me here, I can't expect him to come here and look after me. What am I going to do? How am I going to manage? So she's made that difficult decision, and she did it now when she's in her 80s, early 80s. She said, wow, I can, because it's to the point of she's one of those who's avoiding a crisis and making proactive decisions. So, different, actually, so if you're doing any type of business planning, any type of plan, any type of activity, the biggest part of that activity is the plan. What's the saying, plan, I forget, but plan what's it?
Fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Thank you, fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Exactly.
So it's no different in this. The planning piece is probably the biggest component of it. To evaluate all your options, we'll talk about all of what's involved in the plan, but it's important again, not to rush through this and to really be thinking of your future care needs and doing some research. It's also, there's some studies done where people even living in retirement homes who are miserable or compared to the people who are happy. So the people that are the happier ones are the ones that made the decision on their own. The miserable ones are people have pushed them there, or they went there reluctantly. They weren't in control. Again, I have another client, the kids put the mother into a home, and I hear the mother was crying every day. It was absolutely the wrong place for her, but they did it for, I don't know whether it was because they felt that that's what she could afford, or that's where she would be best positioned. But it was absolutely the wrong place for her. So before you start even planning, it's where am I in my life journey? Because what your needs are very different from me perhaps. What my needs are, what different from Sarah's needs or my daughter Carolyn's needs. My husband and I, when our two daughters left home, we downsized. We were in a large 2-story, 4-bedroom, huge house, huge yard. We've now downsized to a still fairly large, 2,200 square feet. But it's a condo, so it's a detached home, full condo. They look after the outside, we look after the inside. But it still it's still a 2-story home, our laundry in the basement. So we know that there's going to be another move ahead for us. But if we were not in the same physical state that we are in today, that choice might have been different. So be thinking about where you are in your life's journey now, and whether it's one more change, or might there be more? Again, my parents, they moved to a cot, they lived in a house, another house, and a condo retirement home. So they had that stepping stone of the condo before they went to the retirement home, but it's not the path for everyone. So really be thinking about where am I now, and where do I foresee myself to be in the future, and what is the path there? Am I going to be making more than one move, and actually even back to my parents, there was one point my mom said, well, maybe I should be going to retirement home, I should be going to long-term care. It's like, well, yeah, nice to say, but how are you going to get into long-term care? So, the reality of it, of understanding the truth about what's going on in the community and what the options are is critically important. And again, there's no one size path for everybody. So consider what is important to you, what matters to you. Do you want to move? Probably not. But do you feel you have to move? How long can you manage in your own home? What's, again, your physical needs, your financial needs? And can I do something now to make a change? So, again, I've got lots of personal stories, but I have friends who they're our age, the same age as my husband and I, and probably 5 years ago, they said, we've been in a 2-story, 4-bedroom house, and her health wasn't the greatest, and so they didn't want to move, so they renovated their laundry room area, laundry room and powder room on the main floor, and put in a shower. So that they said, if something happens to one of us and our health deteriorates, and we don't want to move, we want to stay in our house, but they envisioned that there would be at least the opportunity for 1-floor living. So that's what they've done. So they're fortunately not in that situation now. Their health is still good, but they have that ability that if they don't want to move, they can stay in their own home because they've made some adaptations to it. So, and what do I, again, envision for my lifestyle in the future? Am I going to be able, it's brutal honesty. Am I going to be able to look after myself and live independently? What do I like to do? Do I want to be sitting at home by myself doing nothing, or do I want to be someplace where I'm going to be where it's a more vibrant community? Do I want to stay where I'm living, or do I need to move somewhere closer to my family? Am I going to need some help with my day-to-day personal care? And where's my extended family? And driving, so transportation. That's another big one. Nobody wants to lose their license, but not inevitably, but good chance that, you know, the people in their older ages shouldn't be driving. And losing your independence from transportation is a major upheaval in someone's life. So coming to terms with it, with challenges and change can be tough. Nobody likes change, and fewer like challenges. So who are the people that, so that's kind of all a bit about planning. You really have to be thinking about yourself and the scenario around you. And then who do you need? Who can come and be part of your team? There's a lot of people. Because a later in life move, as I mentioned earlier, does include a lot of, there's legal matters, powers of attorneys come into place. We've had people die from the time that they put their house up for sale and the time they've actually closed. How do we protect everybody along the way? And lots of emotional issues. This is a major life transition, so there's no question that it's going to affect you emotionally. It's not as simple as packing up and moving to the next stop. It's much more complex than that. So I'm gonna say I'm a bit biased. I'm a real estate broker, and I believe because of the training that I have a connection to all of these types of people, to lawyers, to transition people, to accountants, to home inspectors. So I would suggest that you start with someone like me or someone else that you know that, but who's well versed in the field that you're, in the area that you're, the expertise that you need. Because everybody doesn't have that. There's specialists in all fields. So, and the same thing with the other professionals that you're going to use. You want to be sure that the professionals that you're picking are experienced and have the sensitivity to senior issues. Because if they're just there for the transaction or to do business, that's not the person you want. You want someone who's going to be the best person for you. Again, I had another situation where I went into a home, the people, the mother and the wife and the man and the husband, they looked like they needed to move. So they had another agent come in and say, oh, you need to move in the next month. We need to put the market in the next month because we need to put the house on the market in the next month. The market's tanking, you need to go because you need to capitalize on the market or you're gonna lose. And then when I came in, she was in tears by the end because it was recognizing you don't need to move now. You need to have a plan. Where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do? How are you gonna get there? And if the time isn't right now, the market's not right, that's the way it is. But you need to do what's right for you, not what's right for the market. The people who are happiest with downsizing process are those who've been making decisions for themselves. So, options, what are they? There are lots of them. You might be surprised, but there are choices. People say, well, I don't have a choice, I have to stay, but there's no choice. There are choices once you start looking at them a little closer. And making a move at later in life doesn't mean you're exchanging your freedom or giving up a full and meaningful life. A lot of boomers and seniors who move to other communities or different environments find they make new friends, they pick up new hobbies, they have new life experiences. But also if you ask yourself why you're moving, it will help answer the question where you are. And downsizing can mean different things to different people. So it could be that you're in again, I use this example of a 2-story, 4-bedroom large home, and you want to downsize to something smaller, perhaps 1-floor living, or to retirement, whatever that may be. People think that they're going to come away with a lot of cash because you've got this large home, you're going to go to a bungalow. That may not be the case, particularly because you see the room full of people here. Everyone wants a bungalow. Burlington doesn't have a whole pile of bungalows that are suitable, or even any of the communities around here. And then if we do, we have older bungalows that are small, and when you're coming from a larger home or something else, those smaller bungalows may not suit your needs. They don't have ensuite baths, they don't have walk-in closets. So then you're looking at the newer bungalows. So if you're looking at an older bungalow, you're looking at cost to have to renovate it to bring it up to the specs that you're looking for, or you're looking at a newer bungalow, which the price tags are through the roof. So it's not always about downsizing from a large home to a small home and you're going to come away with a lot of cash. But what's important there is you're coming away with a better lifestyle, or something that's much more suited and manageable to you. So that's an intangible, there's no dollar value to that, but what is that worth to you for your safety and your well-being? You know, does it compensate for the price tag that goes with it? And again, it's not a downward, it's not a downward. So there are some other options as well. In terms of moving from house to house, you could rent, you could move in with others, you could move to a retirement community, you could enter assisted living or long-term care. We'll talk about all of those options. So we're looking at the options. Aging in place. Everybody, most people would like to stay where they are, and that's great. Lots of pluses to staying where you are in terms of cost, because you're not looking at real estate fees and legal fees and moving fee costs and all of that kind of stuff. But again, be truthful with yourself. What's the cost of staying there? Because now you might need to be bringing in care, you may need to be adapting your home to your needs, moving bathrooms around, putting in handicap stuff. Again, no one here is an invalid. I'm not suggesting that we're all gonna turn into invalids, but falls are who's in the healthcare field. Number one.
Number one falls are kitchens and bathrooms.
Kitchens and bathrooms. So, number one area falls, or number one injury falls in kitchens and bathrooms, which in a fall has the potential to have devastating effects, because it's a broken hip as we age is not the best. Again, I have another client, she fell, actually she didn't even fall, but she fractured something, did something. She can't even put weight bear on her leg for months. Yeah, and then the rehab begins. So again, staying in your own home is great if it can work. Sorry, can we just leave the questions to the end?
No, I have something to add. 1 in 5 falls with the hip that you break ends up in death.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for sharing. 1 in 5 falls. 1 in 5 falls ends up with a death.
It's also the
Leading cause of hospitalization in older adults. So yes, so again, we all want to stay in our homes, and I don't blame you, and I would too, but we need to be safe. And then also, because of the people are living longer, and I said, yeah, perhaps our finances aren't keeping up with our age, so there may be costs for that, and there may be costs to bring in care. So you can't stay in your own home. But we're gonna have a talk in the new year around what is the true cost of aging, staying in your own home care, retirement homes, and long-term care. So all of those things are things that you need to be considering. This slide addresses some of the financial aspects of staying in your own home. So there's a program, there's two things. So reverse mortgage, I'm sure you've heard of reverse mortgages. There's lots of marketing around that now. There's a place for it. Probably not something I would recommend for everybody just to take out a reverse mortgage, but there are pros and cons to that. The flip side of that is a program called Sell and Stay. So Sell and Stay is a program where you sell your home to an investor buyer, and then you stay there and become the tenant in that home. So those are sort of similar projects, but programs, but they free up the asset, the financial asset in your home. Neither of them right now are probably the best given the interest rates and what it costs to do any of these things, but there are options in terms of if you want to stay in your own home and your funds are an issue, there are some solutions, but it's exploring those intelligently with eyes wide open. So another option is that you move to a smaller home. Smaller, more manageable, could be in the same community or another community. Pros and cons to that, again, there's no right answer. I'm not gonna say this is what you should do, but there are options, and you need to determine what is right for you. There are costs, moving costs. You may be leaving a familiar neighborhood. The new house still may need to be modified. There still may be some costs there. You're paying real estate fees, you're paying lawyer fees. But the pros may far outweigh that. the ability to be in a smaller, safer, more manageable home may far outweigh any of the cons that are there. Condominium living. So people think of condominiums as these big towers or apartment buildings. Condominiums come in many forms. It could be a condo apartment. It could be a condo townhouse. It could be a condo detached. It could be a condo semi. Condominium is the type of ownership, not the type of building. So, again, the house that I'm in is a full condominium. They look after everything, but we are in a detached house. So those types of properties, that type of real estate exists in all different communities. So it depends on what type of lock it and leave it experience you want for yourself. In a condo apartment, very easy, just to lock the door, walk away, everything is taken care of. In a house like ours, is a little bit more. But what I'm trying to say here is that there's condominiums, there's all sorts of different condominiums, and even that, in a townhouse or something smaller, they're freehold and condos. So there's difference in cost there. If you're purchasing let's say a townhouse that is a freehold townhouse, it may be more expensive than a condominium townhouse, but the condominium townhouse has condo fees. So in the end, it all works out in the wash, but the upfront cost could be different. Another thing to consider is outdoor space. Not all condo apartments have balconies, and I've had many people say, I can't live there, I need to be outside. So if you need to be outside, or if even in a townhouse, you might have a little wee balcony out the front, but they're back to back, so you don't have a backyard. So is that important to you? And you need to be able, again, be truthful with yourself and honest with yourself and say, I can't live like that, or I can, it's okay, and then you know where you're headed. So once you get back to the beginning, once you start answering those questions for yourself at the beginning, and it makes your house search a whole lot easier. Also in condominiums, there's more socialization, because there's lots of communities and clubs and things, and people get together and play cards, they go on outings, they have barbecues, there's lots of community things. So if you are on your own, and you get back to being in your house by yourself, where no one's coming in or going out, and at least in a condo, you don't have to go outside, but there's activities and people around you, so there is a plus to that. Rental units. So to say rental units, I'm going to say two different kinds, and the way I just draw the distinction is there are rental apartments. So I'm going to say in those buildings you're paying rent, and in those buildings they're strictly rented. There's nobody in those buildings that owns them. So that's good, because the likelihood of you being evicted or the lease terminated is only if you don't pay the rent, or you do something, you're destructive in the building. The downside there is that because they're rental buildings, they're more transient, so there's more people coming and going. You could also rent from a private owner, whether that's a house or a townhouse or a condo, but you're at risk there of the ownership changing in that house. The tenant actually goes with the real estate, but there's still some risk that there are some provisions where a landlord can terminate a tenancy at the end of the tenancy. So it's not a permanent, 100% permanent solution. There is some risk there. Also, if you're renting, right now, so the government has put in, there's rent control. So it's the buildings that were built after November 2018, rent control does not apply. So the landlord can jack up the rent any amount they want, and there's nothing you can do about it. Whereas an older building that is not subject to rent control, you have a little more protection in terms of what you're going to pay. So again, if finances are a concern for you and you're going to somewhere where you need to be sure that you're not going to get a surprise in a year and a half where they jack the rent up 30%, then you need to be looking at it more, either a spot that's under rent control or a rental building. Retirement residences are many and varied. No two are the same, I would say. I think it's safe to say that. We've got representatives from two of them here today, but they're in all different communities, come in all different shapes and sizes, all different price points, and they all offer different services and amenities and prices. So It's very much dependent on what your lifestyle, what lifestyle you want, what you can afford, what's important to you, and the care that's provided there. It's another one of those questions. Can I stay there until end of life? Because will they provide the services that I need? Is the care available there? They all don't have care that you're going to be able to stay there till end of life. So it's something that you need to be exploring with that retirement home that you need to consider. I don't know, girls, anything to add to that?
Each community is different. They tailor to different needs and different demographics as well, so it's all dependent on what's important to you.
Yeah, okay, and Kim?
And there are options where people can move into a retirement home, and regardless of the types of services that are offered, if a family can afford to stay and have care put in place, that's also an option.
Good point, yes. So whether the care is provided, so if you can get government provided care as opposed to the care that you're purchasing in a retirement
Or
home.
personal care, like
Yeah, home care, yeah. Also, in terms of retirement homes, the rent piece of that is fixed, or not fixed, is rent control. But the fee for services isn't. So the meals, the activities, housekeeping, all of that is at their discretion. So again, you may get a surprise down the road. So you need to understand what you're getting into. Maybe that's the best way to put it. Also in retirement homes, they're all very different. Things to consider are parking, is still driving, transportation, access to care or care assistance or what they can provide, affordability, meals. They all have, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna make a big, pretty broad statement. I'm gonna say probably the real expensive places, you're gonna get wine with dinner, whereas a more affordable place, maybe not. Yes, no? No?
you can have wine with dinner if you bring it too.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, outdoor space and location. So some other options to consider, granny suites. So the government put in the legislation Bill 23 where you can have accessory dwelling units, you can have something added to it, you can have your garage converted to a dwelling, you can have another building attached to your lot on your property if it's large enough. You can, in some communities, it's up to 3 individual dwellings, and in some communities it's 4. I'm not quite current on who's doing what now, but those are options. So if you have a large home and perhaps your children will come and live with you, or the other way around. Your children have the home and you build the granny suite or the accessory dwelling, you can live with them on your own in your separate unit. Oh, sorry. Thank you, sorry, thanks. And life leases. So the life lease is a unit that you purchase and you have the ability to live in it for your life. So once you die, the life lease ends. So in Burlington, Maranatha Gardens is a life lease. So you're purchasing a unit, you are paying fees, monthly management or occupancy fees, whatever it is. But once you die, you can't just sell it to whoever you like. It needs to go through the process, so it's a life lease. Oh, sorry, there's also in Burlington, in all communities, subsidized housing for seniors. The wait lists, I don't have any experience with that, but I'm told that the wait lists are horrific. 70, yeah, horrific. Tiny homes, there are someone actually, one of our past sessions said she was living in a tiny home. I think it was like 300 square feet, and I don't remember where she put it, but that's also something that's coming in vogue. You can put a tiny home on your property, so that would be almost like an accessory dwelling. But there are also people that are building these tiny homes. I looked up, it says they start at about $90,000 And this company is their largest, was 705 square feet for $250,000. So it depends on the location of the site, what kind of additions, what's inside them. But again, those are some options that someone might want to consider. There, sorry, okay, trigger happy here. Home sharing. So there's a couple of companies, one's called Home Share Alliance, that's Halton Home Share. So if you're living in your own home and you wanna stay there, but finances are a concern, you can share your home with someone else. So it's not a rental, it's not subject to the Rental Tenancies Act because you're sharing, but someone can come and live with you and share the space. So they may have a bedroom or maybe something in the bathroom, and the fee that's paid to the homeowner is very much dependent on what that individual is contributing to the home. So it could be that they're taking out the garbage, they're doing the cutting the grass, they're shoveling the snow, and that would be reflected in their rent. So it's an option if you want to stay in your own home, but it's not particularly manageable either physically or financially, that's an option that you could consider. There's also something called shared spaces, home shared, so that's, you bring in students. So those are more temporary situations because it might be a university student, a college student who's looking for accommodations. And so housing is a big problem all over for everybody. So there's lots of new solutions coming to the market, innovative things to help address this. So we're never gonna get to meet the needs of everybody, but there's new things coming along all the time. I'm gonna write this down, yes. So co-housing. Co-housing, you probably have heard about the Golden Girls, they're up in Port Dover. It was 4 women got together, they purchased a property, renovated it to accommodate all of their needs, so they all got separate spaces and they had shared living space. They all contributed to the purchase price. So that's fine and dandy to do, but it wasn't as simple as it sounds because there was a lot of legal considerations in terms of the ownership, who owns what, who can come and visit, where can they stay, how many guests can I have overnight, who's doing the cooking, who's doing the groceries, what happens if somebody wants to move. So there's lots of considerations there, but it is something that's possible. So if perhaps you have a friend and you want to buy a house together, buy another property together, probably a little bit more easier, but they also, you need clear legal documentation around what that structure is going to be. And then home care hubs. So I put that here because it is an option, but it's for people who need home care. They were involved in one of the presentations we had a few months back. They bring people together and they find housing and bring in a caregiver, so it's shared caregiving in a home environment rather than being in I'm going to say institutional facility. So the cost clearly is more reflective of the size and scale of that home and the needs that you have. So there, again, lots of solutions coming to market, and unless you start exploring them, you would never know, because even today, I'm sure there's things that I haven't heard of, and there are, actually, Jeanette knows lots more of them, that are not traditional housing options, but they're worth looking at if it's something, if you can't figure out what it is that you want to do. So involve your family. And if you don't already have regular family gatherings, have them. And it's a good time for you to share your thoughts with your family. And perhaps just have a conversation. Says, we just wanted you to know that we've been doing some research and we've decided. So they're all gonna have their own opinions and they're all gonna be telling you what you want, what you should be doing. And then it's like, what do I do here? Because everybody's got their own agenda. And some want you to stay, and some want you to move, and when there's siblings, they all each have their own. So it's, again, best if you do the planning, you do the research, you do all of this stuff for your own, and you're making the decisions. Remember I said, those who are in control are the happiest. Those that are making decisions for themselves are the happiest. You don't want to get into a position where someone is making a decision for you. So even if there's nothing imminent or you're not making any plans, I'm still gonna say, have the conversation with your family. Because there may come a time when you can't communicate or you can't do it on your own and they need to execute for you. So if they haven't got a clue of what you want, then that's a difficult situation for them and you. So really best to have that conversation, share your thoughts, help your family out by helping them know what you want. And they don't have to agree with your choices because they're your choices. Nobody needs to like them, but they're your choices. Certainly be considerate of what they have, listen to what they're telling you, because people, your children may see things that you don't see, but it's ultimately your decision. Children, I can tell you, just really want what's best for their parents. They want them to be safe and they want them to be happy. So, but it's still your role to make the decisions. So involve the kids. If you're going to look at some properties, bring them along, let them know what you're doing, again, get their opinion. If you have trouble having these conversations with your family, I'm gonna suggest that you talk to Jeanette, because she's someone that can very easily broker those types of conversations. They're not always the easiest, especially if you have any kind of antagonism amongst yourselves. How to fund a change? The balancing act on where you're gonna go, what you can afford. And in terms of buying or selling real estate, that's a whole other conversation. We're not gonna go there. But what I would say now is, if a piece of real estate is involved and you need to going from one to the other, whether you buy first or sell first, again, is very much a very personal decision. If you buy something first, then it puts pressure on you. You bought something, you're counting on your own property to sell for a certain amount. The market can change, it does, and you may be finding yourself in a position where you're short cash, you're short of funds because you've sold and you haven't got the way around it. If you sell first and you know what you've got to work with, then you're scurrying to find what you need where you want to go in a fixed period of time. That can work for some people say, it's okay, I'm gonna go to a cottage, I'll get that place in Florida, I'll go live with my daughter, and they can manage that. And the other way around, they may have a lot of cash that they can use to purchase a home. Like, so there's scenarios both ways. Again, no one size fits all. It's important to look at your own situation carefully. There are options. You can get a bridge loan, you can use a HELOC, you can use a line of credit, you can use a reverse mortgage to help bridge those any gaps that might be there. And in terms of your stuff, so this is where Irene was going to kick in. I'll come back to this again, but the stuff is stuff. That's all I can say. Stuff is stuff. It means something to you, probably means nothing to anybody else, which is sad, hard, and true. I don't know what else to say. So this is you can ask Carolyn, way back there. Carolyn, way back. Carolyn! How many times have we asked you, do you want this? I don't want anything. I don't want anything. They've got their own stuff. And actually, not on me today. The reason is, they live in smaller houses, they're very busier lives, they don't have the funds, so what are they gonna do with it? What are they gonna do with it? It was important to us, it's certainly not important to them. So, that's just part of the equation, and it's unfortunate, but it is. So take care of yourself. It's important that I'm gonna rip through this quickly because we're just running out of time, but make, again, not so that it's not forced. Use the professionals, they will understand what you're going through. Share your feelings, talk about it, speak with your friends who've gone through it, get a support group in place. There's others that can help you, but it's important to express your opinions and get it out and deal with whatever it is concerning you. Be active, go to social gatherings, just like this one, and that's great that you're here. Proper nutrition is important, so again, once you've gone through a change, proper nutrition is important. Keeping your bones and muscles healthy gives you energy, and energy to do the things is it that you wanna do? You can take courses, you can, learn new skills, you can teach the skills that you've got. Even if you're in a condominium, there are groups there, so perhaps here's a good example. You're in a house, you've got a garden, you like gardening, but you're going into a building where there's no garden, that's a piece that you're gonna give up. But you don't have to give it up, because there'll be gardening groups in that community, or you can teach others what you know, you can teach classes in the building, you can teach classes online. There's lots of opportunities for you to be thinking about as things change. So it's not about things being taken away, but look forward as to what that potential can be. So in summary, downsizing is not a negative thing. Think of it as rightsizing and a natural progression. Evaluate, plan, use professionals, explore your options, make decisions, have the conversations, and then celebrate. So this is where actually Irene was gonna kick in, and I said I was gonna do my best not to really destroy her presentation, but I'm only gonna go through it very quickly, and it's an abridged thing, just so we don't overlook any of this stuff. So, a company like Irene's, it's called 360 Downsizing. They can help with a lot of things: packing, moving, unpacking, space planning, staging, realtor referrals, recycling, disposal, all of those things. So there's companies that, like hers, others that can do all of this stuff. So you're not on your own, you don't have to do it yourself. They help you figure out where you're gonna go, what you're gonna take, and how it's going to get there. They do floor plan, or they'll help you with floor plans and determining all those moving pieces. Measure your closets, figure out, help you with, if you can't take all your clothes, where are you gonna take, what are you gonna do with it? They can help you prepare your home for market, whether it needs it or not. They can help, actually, a company like Irene's, this is the things that they suggest in terms of if you are going to be putting your house up for sale. These help to make your house just a little more appealing and more saleable. Update lighting, fixtures, broken hardware, wallpaper is a little bit of an issue for some. Switch plates, just some minor maintenance. But companies like Irene's and others, they can help you with that stuff. So once again, it's not something that you need to do on your own. 360 Downsizing does something in terms of auctions. So they do online auctions to help you to get through the things that you have and put them off in the right direction. It's an expensive process. Generally will pay for itself, if not you come away with some extra, but it saves you having to do it on your own. And the types of things that sell, you would be surprised. Things that you don't think anybody's gonna want, somebody may. And it saves it from being dumped or donated. How it works, I think it's best to leave that for her. We'll have her back on another time. But if you're in a condo, having an auction may not be practical because the board bylaws may not allow that. But there are other options in terms of how to deal with this with an auction. And in terms of what is your stuff worth, you may be surprised. Actually, you may be surprised because as much as I said nobody wants your stuff, there are people that want some very specific things. And I don't know what that is, but people who are the professionals in this area know what those things are. So in terms of an auction, I can tell you that what Irene does is they take all the stuff in your house that you want to get rid of. Let's say, well, we'll talk about all the little things. And she packages it into lots, and those lots are then put online and people bid on them. Well, someone might want the one thing in that lot, but they get it all. So that whole package is gone. So it's a good way of getting things out without it having to go to the dump. So this actually surprised me. In an auction, what stuff sold for. So apparently, those two black teacups on the right-hand side, someone really wanted them badly. So you never know. So it's not all stuff that has to go in the dump, and it's not all stuff that you have to just give away. There are other options. This is the stuff that does not do well in terms of sales, and probably easy to understand. Right? And I have a big dining room table and a lot of dining room chairs and a cabinet and a curio and all of those things, then I don't know what we're gonna do with it, because Carolyn tells me she doesn't want it. So there's a process in terms of how to deal with your stuff. First ask your family and friends, kind of figure out which direction it's gonna go into, box things for donation and consignment, garbage goes out. And here again, everything is not going in the same direction. There's not one thing where we're just gonna go and take all our stuff here and that's where it's gonna go. Everything goes into a different place that's optimized for whatever product it is. And I apologize that Irene is not here, and she will be happy to answer any questions you have on that location. So back to this question, it's not limiting, it is liberating. I encourage you to take that perspective and to plan well, to plan thoughtfully, and to have those conversations and to at least begin thinking about it and begin thinking. Okay, so if you want, you can take a screenshot of that. That is my downsizing guide. I have a few copies here, but as you can see, it's a fairly substantial thing, but it is available online. And I also have a guide that's called the Downsizing Timeline. This gives you a 2-year kind of trajectory into how to deal with this. If you're one of your do-it-yourselfers and you want to go through your things yourself, this kind of puts it in a little bit more organized manner so it doesn't become overwhelming for you. And it makes it easier to tackle dealing with your stuff. Okay, can I move that on? Okay. Question time. Okay. Sarah's gonna run. I'll give you a second.
Thanks, Marion. Great presentation.
Thanks.
Granny flats.
Yep.
What are the rules and regulations and bylaws in regards to that with Burlington and or Hamilton? And my second part of that question is, when the main person who lives in the house decides to sell, that's providing we've already got the granny flat there. They decide to sell, does that granny flat have to be removed from the property?
No, I don't believe it needs to be removed. It would stay there. So they are separate legal dwellings.
Yes.
So they're not rented.
But are 2 dwellings allowed in
Yes.
Burlington?
Yes, because the law requires that. So Bill 23, that's exactly what that was for, to be able to have up to 3, in some communities up to 4. Yeah, so in Hamilton, there's much more of that type of development. I don't know why. You don't see too many in Burlington. So if you're gonna have a granny, like a dwelling in your backyard, it needs to meet the zoning bylaws. So the city has to adjust their bylaws and the zoning requirements. So I don't know what the setbacks are, but turning a garage into a dwelling, you can do that.
Is there a limit on the size of the granny flat?
I don't know, I can't answer that, sorry.
Yes, I've noticed, one of the hardest things I see is going from your house to something else, smaller or whatever, is you're gonna rent, you're gonna buy, obviously. But what I noticed is we have a lot of shortage of apartments in Somers right now. And there is a real big bang right now, apartments going up. But they're not renting them, they're leasing them.
Yes.
They're leasing them at ridiculous prices. What's the difference between an apartment that's rented and an apartment that's leased?
Yeah, so when I talked about apartment buildings, a building that is built specifically for rental units. The entire unit, the building is owned by one individual and they rent those out. So I'm gonna call those rent. When it's owned by someone privately, so in a condominium building where someone owns one suite, they're gonna lease that to you. So in my mind, that's how I define those different
Okay,
properties.
but there's a difference now. Now they're building part, I live in Hamilton, there's 3 of them coming online now. And finally realized, okay, access, okay, are they renting or are they a condo? They're renting, but they're not they're not bought by individuals and then they rent to other people. The whole unit is being leased, each unit is
Yes.
being leased.
Okay, so rent and lease are synonymous, it's just sort of a terminology.
But you're looking like, okay, you're not paying the condo fee of 800,000 or 700,000.
Right, yeah.
But you're paying rental fees of $2,850 for 900
Yes.
square feet.
Yes,
For 1 year.
yes,
And at the end of 1 year, that could be anything.
right, because those buildings that are being built now are not subject to rent control, so those rents can go up. Also, the buildings like downtown Burlington, I don't know if anybody's living on Martha Street in that condo, the new condo there, but those units are very small. And so the new buildings that are being built, the units are small because it's around density, so they need to get as much bang for their buck as they can in that land. So those units are small, and I'm finding that anybody of our age that wants to go into them, they've got too much stuff, and it's a big, huge adjustment to move into that size of a space. So the older condo buildings have larger units. I've got one now, it's 1,247 square feet. Others are 1,500 square feet, 1,000 square feet. So those are buildings, but those are in the older buildings. The newer ones aren't that.
Hi, I've got two issues. Number one, the gentleman mentioned it. I want to rent an apartment. There's very few around because of the housing shortage. That's my first problem, but I can always stay in the house. Second problem, I've got all these things. Are there any companies out there that will come in, assess it, buy it off you, take it off your hands?
Depends on. Sorry? Sorry, who? Habitat. They will. So Habitat will take the furniture. Habitat in Burlington, I just had a truckload of stuff go there yesterday. So you will get a tax receipt, they won't buy it from you, but you'll get a tax receipt provided that the delivery is over, what you're donating to them is over $300. So that's the best you can do. Whether anyone is going to buy it lock, stock, and barrel just like that, perhaps if it's a true antique and there's an antique dealer, but I'm not aware of anybody that would just come and buy a whole house worth of, or a portion of a house worth of furniture. The best you can do is try and sell it online or try and sell it through an auction, depending on what it is. Anybody else? At the back. We got.
Sorry.
Yes, right ahead.
To that gentleman's point, I was just on the website for Habitat for Humanity 3 weeks ago, and you need to have items worth $1,000 to get a receipt, and they have to need the items. So if they have 300 couches already, they don't want your couch. So I went to Facebook Marketplace and sold every stick.
Great, good for you. So yes, there's an option for that. Anybody else with a question for me?
Could you address what the cost is for the associates that are here? For example, if I wanted to get in touch with Jeanette, what would it cost me?
Sure. If you're willing to talk about that, that's their decision.
Sure. So I bill out at $125 an hour, and I work with people. If they say to me, Jeanette, I'm on a really low budget, I can only afford 5 hours, then I'll work within that budget, because ultimately I want to be able to help. I want to be able to provide you good information so you can move forward, and I will make it happen however it works for you. So.
We have the same approach as Jeanette. We charge an hourly rate of $60 an hour, but our package deals start to reduce the price to $50 an hour, et cetera, et cetera. And then if you're, if your financial situation is preventing you from accessing our services at that crucial time, end of life, then we will work with you to find a way to help you out.
So for private PSW and caregiver support here in Burlington with Bayshore, we do, especially with our neighborhood health teams program, we do try to create very personalized rates depending on what your needs are. The standard kind of rate per hour in the Burlington area right now through Bayshore is $40 an hour. However, that being said, that includes your PSW and support from the nurse, and then we do come up with personalized pricing depending on what your needs are. So that's kind of the standard rate, but there's a lot of different flexibilities. We do work with insurance companies and other sources of funding as well.
For retirement living, it varies completely on the suite that's available. Depends on where they are located in the building. If it's a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, or a studio, the prices are varying. But typically, the costs that are associated between $4,000 and $8,000. It just really depends on your needs.
Yeah, so just to echo what Sarah said, it is the same. So costs can range anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 depending on the suite type. It's all based on square footage. And then services would be additionally on top of that.
Hearing devices come in a large range. We've got kind of a good, better, best model. That best hearing aid can be as much as $6,500, but right down to about $1,500, which in our case is not just for the devices that you're getting, but also all the aftercare that comes with it. So anything you need from us while you're wearing the hearing aid is covered in that one-time price.
For our PSW care right now, we are charging anywhere between $40 and $55 per hour, depending on the duration of the visit.
I don't charge for my services. You can sit with me 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. You won't be charged. However, Smith does offer packages. They're all on our website. You can choose a casket urn, how much you want us to help with when the time comes, whether it's just a cremation only, if you want us to help with cemetery, if you want us to help with a funeral service, visitation, celebration of life. We do receptions with wine and beer, no wine and beer, whatever you want to do. That would be a package price, so depending on what you want. But like I said, my services are included.
Thanks, I hope you found that helpful. So just to wrap up today, just wanted to, again, thank you for being here. This session is being videotaped and it will be sent out to you by email. If you don't get my emails, please let the girls know so we just check and make sure that I have the right email address. The video will also be on the website. It's there, it'll be there forever, as are all the past sessions. Also, once again, thanks very much to all our educational partners. They're great to have you with us. The next session is in December. Keeping with the spirit of the season, we are also going to have a food drive that day. So I will send out a list of what the most needed items are, and we ask that you do come with something to donate. We will take it all likely to the Burlington Food Bank. The session next month is on caring for yourself both physically and emotionally. Once again, I ask you to please fill out an evaluation and comment on the sessions that you're going to find important to you, and RSVP for the next session.